These aren't Russians scaling a wall of a warehouse in East London. Not Russians lighting a fire and filming themselves torch a building. And as the fire burns, it's not Russians running away. The fire targeted a warehouse inside this industrial estate in East London. It happened last year. An estimated £1 million worth of damage was done to goods including Starlink satellite equipment that were on their way to Ukraine. The men who carried out the attack were British, but it was Russia that got the blame. These men were convicted for the arson this summer. UK police say these two, the orchestrators, were acting on Moscow's orders. They are Dylan Earl and Jakeem Rose, who both pleaded guilty to offences under the National Security Act, the UK's new espionage law. In the trial at the Old Baily, the court heard Earl was in touch with Russian agents through online messaging apps. These users, the court found, recruited him, instructed him, and promised to pay him. Commander Murphy is the UK's top anti-terrorism police officer.
We are noticing that some people are proactively reaching out online, so they're trying to get in touch with people like Iran, like Russia, and offering their services. Equally though, some people are being approached online to do this, and most of this is online. They are tending to be young men, so late teens, early to mid-20s.
Commander Murphy says Russia amped up a shadow war on the UK after it was accused of the Salisbury assassination attempt on former Russian agents.
We've created a hostile operating environment, particularly for Russia, since Salisbury. And as a result, they need to think of different ways of operating. And so what they're doing is using social media, some encrypted social media, to reach out to young people here.
The East London fire is just one of a number of attacks European authorities believe Russia had ordered. Some are fires, like this one at a shopping mall in Poland. 1,400 small businesses were destroyed. Prime Minister Donald Tusk tweeted that Poland knows for sure that this was ordered by the Russian special services. In the Czech Republic, this man was sentenced to 8 years in prison for plotting an arson attack on the capital's public transport network. Officials in Prague openly blamed Russia. In Finland, authorities say a ship believed to be part of Russia's shadow fleet may have dragged its anchor along the seabed, damaging underwater cables in the Baltic Sea. The EU said it was the latest in a series of suspected attacks on critical infrastructure. And last month, 15 people were charged with terrorist offences in Lithuania over the detonation of DHL and DPD parcels, which caused fires in Poland, Germany and the UK. Prosecutors pointed the finger at Russia's military intelligence services and said the plot was a dry run aimed at sabotaging flights to Canada and the US. Over 50 sabotage events, likely linked to Russia, have been logged in Europe from 2022 to mid-2025. The body behind this research says the number almost quadrupled last year. Russia is accused of waging a shadow or hybrid war across Europe. It's sometimes called grey zone. Researchers believe it's because Europe is helping fund Ukraine's war efforts. Its aim, they say, is causing disruption, chaos, and sowing distrust of government among the public. Despite the threat, European governments have struggled to respond to sabotage operations. There's been no unified response, no coordinated action, and no effective deterrent measures. At the start of this year, the Royal Navy tracked a Russian spy ship in the English Channel. It was just weeks after the vessel was caught loitering over critical undersea infrastructure in UK waters. The UK Defence Secretary John Healey issued this warning.
And I also want President Putin to hear this message. We see you, we know what you're doing, and we will not shy away from robust action to protect this country.
We're very much Russia's adversary.
Christopher Steele was once Britain's top spy on Russia. He says sabotage is a programme sanctioned from the top of the Kremlin.
They can't get what they want by conventional means. Their conventional armed forces and their economy is simply not strong enough to achieve those objectives in that sort of traditional way, in a way that we would, for example, through sanctions or whatever. That doesn't work for Russia. So Russia has to go into the grey zone and has to fight dirty.
If every time Vodafone is down or Heathrow Airport is closed, or Jaguar Land Rover suffers a cyber attack, whatever, if every time that happens, we, the general population, think, is this Russia? Does that mean Russia is then winning?
It means Russia's having an impact.
Russia denies any involvement in sabotage or hybrid warfare against EU countries or the UK. A statement from its embassy called Mr. Steele an absolutely unreliable source and said, "This recent round of allegations has a familiar and unsubstantiated pattern. Claims are followed by sensationalised coverage in the mainstream media and presented to the public as highly likely facts, devoid of any verifiable evidence." The statement goes on to call this an aggressive campaign of anti-Russian scaremongering. It is a political tool designed to desensitise the electorate to worsening socio-economic problems at home and to justify significant, though unnecessary, hikes in military spending. By invoking the spectre of a Russian threat, European governments seek to forge a consensus for a more confrontational foreign policy towards Moscow and to undermine any efforts aimed at finding diplomatic resolution of the Ukraine crisis. The trial at the Old Baily heard that after the Leighton fire, Dylan Earl remained in touch with the internet contact he believed was a Russian agent. The jury was shown CCTV of his next plot in action. It was to blow up 2 Mayfair businesses and to kidnap their owner, a wealthy Russian dissident. This case closes the chapter on one man and his network of saboteurs willing to betray their country. But there is no way of knowing exactly where the rest of the story ends. Sadia Chowdhury, Sky News.